Good morning, everybody. This is Terry with Gateway to Counseling. Thank you guys for joining me today. You know, this is a question that I posted from my own thoughts, right? Because we've had so many mass shootings. We've had two here in the last several days, in the last week. I actually was watching 60 Minutes last night, and they actually had already started working on a piece about mass shootings. They actually followed a couple who lost their daughter 6-7 years ago to a mass shooting. And they literally have given their life to a cause of driving around the U.S. And helping to support individuals. They're now on their way to El Paso. It's really sad when you think about it. And you have to ask the question, why? Why are there so many? And everybody has their own thoughts about it. You know, I was listening to Jimmy Evans yesterday. He's a pastor out of Dallas. He has a program. He has one called Marriage Today. And then he talks about other things as well. And I really like Jimmy Evans and Pastor Robert Morris. You guys might have heard me talk about them in the past. And he talked about the end times. He's doing this whole series on the end times. And, I think it's a little overwhelming at times, to think about the end times. But he said something that really hit home. He said, when he was growing up, you didn't have all of this, right? The level of immortality has just grown significantly. He talked about, he's around my age, so we grew up at the same time, and we went to school, and when you went to school, you said the Pledge of Allegiance. You said a Pledge of Allegiance, right? And we said prayers. I went to a Catholic school, so of course we said prayers, but even in public schools, there were prayers. And so, we had this foundation at the beginning of our day that started with a pledge of allegiance to our country and to one another. And the Pledge of Allegiance, we pledge to God. We started our day with a prayer that let us know that God was watching everything that we were doing, and it helped us to have a sense of how to treat each other fairly. I remember being a little girl, and I was thinking about doing something, and I was in my front yard off to the left side, and I knew my mom wouldn't see me. I knew my dad wouldn't see me, right? But I knew God would see me, so I didn't do it, right? Now, that didn't work all the time, but it works a lot to this very day. It works a lot. When I think about doing something that's wrong, and I know I can get away with it, I know I'm not going to get away with it with God, right? But nowadays, we don't have that. We don't have families growing up in church. We don't have kids who even know about spirituality and that someone's watching them all the time, that we need to treat each other fairly, that we need to be kind to one another. Instead, we have people growing up with social media and with the internet, and that's where they're learning things. And we have a younger generation, 25 and under, that are really hooked on video games. And I think that does a lot to the mind. Guys, I've talked about this issue. You can go back and look through my history. You can go to my YouTube channel. I did a presentation on this for an hour and a half just on July 11th. I did it live at a hospital, Cypress Creek Hospital. And there's a lot to cover. But I believe that we have a different society now. We have a society where our kids are learning more from the internet and social media than from their parents and the church. And when you grow up playing video games and you're shooting them up, you're playing these games, you don't have a thought about getting a real gun and shooting up someone for real, because there is no pain in a video game. You don't have any compassion for the person that you're killing because you've done it so many times on video games. I remember someone a long time ago saying something to me about certain video games and certain cartoons that were training our young people to be desensitized to others' feelings, that were more satanic. I don't know, because I'm not into video games. My daughters, thank heavens, grew up not being into video games. My grandkids are growing up, they're not really into video games. Jonathan a little bit. Not Xavier. Xavier's only a year. Isabella a little bit. But I make a point that when they're here, we don't do all that, right? And of course they're doing kid games, right? But I don't even like them being on their iPads and their cell phones or whatever the case may be. Let's spend time together. Let's interact together. Let's color. Let's sit on the floor and play Legos. Let's do those kind of activities together. Let's go outside and hang out, right? Let's play water games and things like that. But that's one reason, guys, is the social media, and we don't have compassion for other people anymore. When you can sit down and watch a YouTube of people fighting for no reason, no absolute reason. When you see people jumping a person just because they were dared to do it and beating them down, and when you're watching this, you're laughing. Like, you're laughing at it. What happened to compassion, right? I remember working with a girl who had been sexually abused, and she was really having a hard time with it, of course. And one day she sat down with me. She was a teenager. She sat down with me and she was laughing about a video of a fight that occurred at school. And she got in trouble for posting it on her social media. And she didn't understand why she got in trouble. And, she said, this doesn't have anything to do with me, I just posted what I saw. And I said, don't you have compassion for this person who was being beaten? And she didn't. And then I said, wouldn't you want someone to have compassion for you when you've been raped? And she got upset with me. She got over it, but I could ask that question because we had established a lot of rapport. And she knew that I cared about her, but I cared enough about her to confront her on her lack of compassion for another person when she herself had been victimized. Do you understand what I'm saying? So people no longer have compassion for one another. That's number 2. Number 3, I know a lot of people want to blame Trump for his views and promoting his views. And maybe some people feel like he's encouraging others to do these things. But when I sit and watch the people who are being killed and the places where these shootings are occurring, they don't look like me. They look like Trump. So I don't know what to say about that. I don't think it's Trump. I think he might be saying a few things that encourage people to already act out on what they've been thinking. Like the boy in Ohio who his peers said he had kept a list and had actually been suspended from school for keeping a list of people he wanted to kill and people or girls that he wanted to sexually assault. And I didn't read the whole article. I didn't. But you have to wonder what happened after he was suspended from school. Did they work with his family to get him help? I am a licensed professional counselor, licensed sex offender treatment provider. And we're growing up in a time where we have so much going on with artificial intelligence and so many advances in our society, and things going on with the rental market and the housing market and the banking industry and the stock markets. And someone said to me, Terry, you will never be without a job. I don't experience those financial roller coasters because what I do is needed, like a doctor. You need a doctor to work on your body, and you need a therapist to work on your mind. Some people believe they can go out there and do it on their own. Great. Go to a support group. Surround yourself with like-minded people who are trying to get into a better place or already in a better place. But as long as we have people who have no compassion for others, there will always be a need for someone like me, because I work with individuals who sexually offend. And one of the biggest things I work on with them is compassion. And if I can't get them to feel compassion, that lets me know that they will probably offend again. Yeah, regardless of anything else that I do. They might be scared a little while of the law, but they're going to learn to get around the law, won't they? I also watched 60 Minutes last night on the program where an adult had sexually abused a child, a male, and continued to sexually abuse him through the time until he was an adult, until that adult killed him. This man, as it turns out, had been sexually abusing little boys for years. And once he had them, he continued to abuse them. Maybe it started at age 6, 7. It continued into adolescence. It continued into adulthood. I've never heard of anything like it before. But he had so much mind control. And that, I think, is what it's about, is mind control, right? So these individuals don't have control over their minds. And that is why Trump can say one sentence that is crazy and that person acts on it. One of the things that I found most disturbing was that these mass shootings are occurring all over the United States. I can't even remember right now how many we've had this year. It's over 100, if I remember correctly, this year already, and we're only in the beginning of August. But we've had this many mass shootings. And what bothers me is to learn that I've just experienced the death of my child, and you are calling me and saying it didn't happen. You're sending me emails saying it didn't happen. You're sending me messages on Facebook calling me crazy. And then you got another side of people who are creating GoFundMe accounts to help support the death of this person. They don't even know me. They don't even know my child, but they've created this account to take money from people like you, and then that money's gone. It didn't come or go to the family who experienced the loss. They don't even know the person who started the account. I don't like those accounts. I don't give money to those accounts because I have no clue of what's going on. Let me sit face to face with you. Let me get to know you and understand the circumstances of what's going on. And then maybe I will give you some money. Maybe. Right? But what's happening is that mass shootings are occurring all over our United States of America for so many reasons. Lack of compassion, I think, is the biggest one. Forget the trauma. I know some of these individuals have been through trauma. They've been bullied. They've been sexually abused. They've experienced lots of losses. They've been physically abused. I understand that. But it's a lack of compassion because I too was sexually abused. I too went through domestic violence, but I'm not shooting up people. Instead, I'm sitting here trying to help. Guys, we are running out of time. We are out of time. I am Terry with Gateway to Counseling. We are bringing peace, joy, love, and light into the lives of millions with affordable online counseling. Anywhere, anytime. We take insurance. Please enter our gates into a brighter tomorrow where you are in control. Bye-bye.